What's up everyone, Joseph here. In this video, we're going to take a look at the grammar that is on page 59 of the book. That's page 59 on unit 9, time contrasts. So, we use time contrasts to explain how different things were in the past, how things are changing or have changed today, and how things will change in the future. So let's see some example. 20 years ago, we had a cinema in Mao. There weren't so many sonatas here 10 years ago. An example with the present. These days, convenience stores have delivery. Internet is faster nowadays. In the present, people are driving to work more often. And future, examples with future. In the future, we'll have cars that can fly. Next year, we're going to have a new park in this city. So notice that in each of these sentences, there's comparing, making a statement about how different things were in the past, or how things are changing in the present, or how things will change in the future. So there is like a comparison between one time, one moment, be that the present and the past, or the past and the present, or the present and the future. And you can also make comparison with the past and the future. For example, 20 years ago. Imagine how things were 20 years ago. 20 years ago, we had a cinema in Mao. So the difference is between 20 years ago and today. 20 years ago, there was a cinema in Mao, and now, in the present, there is no cinema here. Another example, there weren't so many sonatas here 10 years ago. So, again, the comparison between today and 10 years ago. 10 years ago, there weren't so many sonatas here, but now we have a lot of sonatas here in the Dominican Republic. So let's take a look at the present examples. These days, convenience stores have delivery. So before we didn't have delivery. Do you remember, like 10 or 15 years ago? We didn't have deliveries. Colmados didn't have deliveries. Convenience stores didn't have deliveries. And now it seems like every convenience store, colmado, bodega, or supermarket has delivery. Internet is faster nowadays. So we are saying that these days the internet is faster. We have more speed. Before, in the past, internet was slow. I don't know if you remember about dial-up. Dial-up was very, very slow. And we have come a long way since those days of dial-up. So in the present, people are driving to work more often. People are driving to work more often. Before, people weren't driving to work because, well, it might have been because most people didn't have cars, or most people didn't have motorcycles. But now, a lot of people have cars and motorcycles, so they can drive. So people are driving to work more often these days. So as you can see, there's a comparison between the how things are right now and a past situation. Now with the future. In the future, we'll have cars that can fly. Now, right now, do we have cars that can fly? And the short answer is, well, yes, we do. There's there are prototypes, but the common person cannot buy a flying car. But in the future, in this statement, we see that in the future we will have cars that can fly. We cannot buy them now, but in the future we'll be able to buy. So next year, we're going to have a new park in this city. Okay. Now, this year we have some parks, but this one that is being planned is not ready. We don't have this park that is being planned, but next year we're going to have it. So as you can see, there is difference between now and the future in these two sentences. So to use time contrast, there must be a difference between past and present, or present and future, or past and future, of course. But in this grammar, we're not going to see examples between past and future, just between past and present and future. So let's see other examples. When we were kids, we used to play with toys instead of iPads and smartphones. So what is the difference? When we were kids, that means 20 years ago, something like that. Yes, I'm a little bit old. When we were kids, we used to play with toys. Back then, we played with toys. But kids nowadays, kids today in the present, play with iPads, play with iPhones, with smartphones and computers. So the difference now, kids play with computers and iPads and smartphones. Before, in the past, kids used to play with other stuff like marbles or normal toys like cars and dolls. So today, kids don't play sports. Today, kids don't play sports. Referring to the present. Um, Kids don't play sports. What am I trying to say? In the past, kids used to play sports, but now they don't. Again, they are focused on iPads and smartphones. Um, but um, in the past, kids used to play more sports. 20 years from now, we might not use gasoline for cars. 20 years from now, we might not use gasoline for cars. Today, in the present, what do we use? What do we use to drive cars? We use gasoline for cars. We use gas, gas oil. We use gas oil for cars, diesels, and we also use propane gas. But in the future, we might not use gasoline. You know, there is a trend right now that people are buying electric cars. So 20 years from now, it's a possibility that we might use other types of fuel, like electricity, for cars. So note, we use the modal might to say something is possible in the present or the future. For example, in a few years, movie theaters might not exist. What am I saying? That there's a possibility that movie theaters are not present in the future, that they might disappear in a few years. Notice the difference? Now we have movie theaters, of course, we have cinemas. But in the future, that might not be the case. There is a difference between the present and the future. When we create time contrasts, we have to use time expressions that refer to the time we want to talk about. For example, Past, for the past expressions, we can use a few years ago, a number of years ago, like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 50 years ago, whatever you want to express. In the past, we can also use in the past, or in a number of years. For example, in 50 years, in 20 years, in wow, I'm sorry. This is actually not. Uh, this is actually not used here with the past. This is more as an expression of the future in in a certain number of years. This goes here in the future. Uh, so, like I said, for the past, a few years ago, a number of years ago, in the past. Let's see. We can also use before. We can also use before. And for the present, we can use these days, today, nowadays. Nowadays means these days. It's the same. These days and nowadays has have similar meaning. And this year, referring to the year we're on, we can also say this month and this decade. Soon, we can say soon. In there it is, the famous in years. Let me copy this and put it here. There we go. In a number of years, in the future, tomorrow. Tomorrow referring to the future. So these are not the only time expressions. There are a lot of time expressions, uh, but these are the most common. But of course, there are more than that. So the time expressions can be before or after the situation we want to explain. If it's before, use a comma. For example, in the past, very few people use computers. And the other way around, very few people use computers in the past. So, as you can see, they have the same meaning, but here we are using the time expression first, followed by a comma, and here we are using the time expression after the situation, without using a comma. So here uh, we have another example. Soon we will have the cure for COVID-19, God willing. Uh, we will have the cure for COVID soon. Here we are using soon before, and of course a comma, and here we're using soon after, without a comma. So when we talk about the past, present, or future, we can use different tenses to describe the situation. There are some of these the tenses we're going to. These are some of the tenses we're going to focus on this grammar. Excuse me. Past. We can use a simple past using normal verbs. We can use the verb be, and we can also use used to. We know we have seen the use of used to before. For example, I liked to play basketball in the past. In the past, I like to play basketball. What am I saying? In the past, I like to play basketball, but now I might not like it as much. I might not. Some years ago, there were some buildings in this block. Some years ago, there were some buildings in this block. What does that mean? Now there are no buildings in this block. But some years ago, there were. That's the difference. Back in the day, another phrase we use in the past. Back in the day, they used to give us 5 pesos for school. Back in the day, it's the same as in the past. They used to give us 5 pesos for school. Now, examples with tenses with present, we can use the simple present, and also we can use the present continuous. For example, nowadays I like to play video games at night. Or let's see another example now with present continuous. I'm working 5 days a week this year. I'm working 5 days a week this year. Now with the future we can use will, we can use be going to, and we can use might. We saw the use of might up here. We saw the use of might here. So they are going to build a mall here in the future. In the future, they are going to build a mall here. Uh, Now there is no mall here, and in the future they are going to build it. That's the difference. Soon, it might be too late if we don't stop climate change. Soon, soon in the future, it might be too late if we don't stop climate change. So, in the present, climate change is not a problem. But in the future, it will be a problem, and we have to act now. So, in 10 years, we will have a lot of money. In 10 years, I forgot the comma here. In 10 years, we will have a lot of money. Right now, we don't have a lot of money, but in 10 years, we will have. So, this is the end of the video. I will see you on the next one.